Welcome to Herbally Yours, an adventure into the world of natural medicine. Here is your host, Dr. Kamhi, the natural nurse who will help you take the leap to ultimate wellness.
Greetings, and thank you so much for joining me, Kamhi, the natural nurse, for another edition of Herbally Yours, right here on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. Herbally Yours brings you the latest information about the many facets in the world of natural living. Today, I'm going to do a show with you, and thank you so much for joining us. We won't have a guest, but I thought I would really go into the concept of sleep, because people are, due to stressful events, currently and truthfully all the time, people have stressful events in their life that might interfere with their ability to sleep. Some people can sleep through anything, noise and worry, but I would say as we age, people have even more difficulty sleeping. And if any of you have ever dealt with little children, you know sometimes they're very hard to put down to sleep. It sort of depends on the child. The amount of sleep that you might need each night actually varies, but there is a parameter of getting about 7 hours at night is the best for an adult, although I know many people who don't sleep through the night or have that much sleep in their life. But things happen when you don't get enough sleep. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention report that 49.2 million people have trouble with going back to sleep, especially after they wake up at night. Sleep is very important because it allows your body to heal and rejuvenate. And without enough sleep, your health does suffer and concentration suffers. But it's such a common problem. One of the reasons is there is so much light in the environment now. If you think about the natural cycle in the world, it's light during the day and then at night, there's no light around. Well, very few people live under that kind of condition now, especially when we figure in all the incoming light from various devices that might be plugged into your room, like phones that are plugged in all night and etc. Some people are not necessarily so sensitive to light, but the problem is that melatonin, which is our natural sleep hormone that our brain makes, can only be made in the dark. So if you have no time that is totally dark, it's very often difficult for your pineal gland to produce melatonin. So a really nice non-drug way to deal with that is just buy a mask, a sleep mask, and there are many on the market. I find they're very soothing, and if you are choosing one, you want to get one that is kind of like a cup, because if you get the ones that are totally flat to your face, then when you go into a sleep cycle where your eyes open and close quickly, sort of blink, very often people's eyelashes will get caught on those flat sleep masks, and that in and of itself is irritating and can wake you up. But the other kind of sleep mask, and you could clearly see them, they're available more or less everywhere now, and you can look at it if you're purchasing it online, certainly, that is like a cup that allows your eyelashes to sort of not bump into anything if they're fluttering while you're sleeping. Those are the best, and many of them are made very, very comfortably, and they'll actually give you total darkness even if your room is not totally dark. So that's a very good sleep intervention that improves both the ability to sleep and the depth of sleep. So, there's a natural sleep-wake cycle that is called the circadian rhythm. And when you're in sync with that rhythm, you easily improve sleep. So it moves you into a regular sleep-wake pattern. And so many people really have interfered with their circadian rhythm, their natural circadian rhythm, due to many things, such as caffeine. Caffeine is a big one because caffeine really wakes your brain up, which I don't know about you, but I love caffeine in the morning. And so I have organic coffee, I use filtered water, and I use a brown coffee filter. Why do I do all those things? First of all, coffee is highly sprayed. A normal commercial coffee crop is sprayed with 136 different chemicals. And then if you use a white filter, if you're making coffee at home, which a lot more people lately have been doing, the white filter is white because they use dioxin, which is a highly toxic dye that does dissolve in hot water. So there you go. You're kind of making a toxic soup. But you can have the brain stimulating chemicals of caffeine other ways, such as using organic coffee, purchasing a non-dyed brown coffee filter. It does not cost much more than the white ones, and they usually have it on the shelf there right next to the white ones. And then, of course, using filtered water, especially if you're in a place that a lot of toxic chemicals are in the water, which you can find out just by looking online. The water districts all post the things they test for and the things that they find. But in general, you can be sure your water is polluted in most places in the country. Not to the point where they stop providing it through the pipes, but certainly to the point of you wanting to use your own filter at home to get out some of those pesticides and herbicides, which also interfere with sleep. Now, it's a well-known fact, many people know, that if you eat a big meal before you go to bed, it will interfere with your sleep. And me personally, I actually eat my largest meal, which I guess you would consider dinner, versus breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I don't have those kinds of schedules. I sort of do more of a grazing pattern throughout the day, like I'll eat one piece of fruit or one avocado. But let's say the largest meal of the day would be around 2 or 3 in the afternoon. And there are so many studies that find that is by far the best way to go. And of course, we see that so often in European countries where they actually take a break during the day. They have a very extended, large meal at that time of day. And then later in the day, as we get closer to the time when you might sleep, you sort of have more of what you might consider a small dinner or a snack. So not something that fills up your stomach to where you push yourself back and go, oh my God, I'm so full, because that heavy meal will interfere with sleep. Also, it interferes with absorption of nutrients, so it's sort of the worst time of day to eat heavily. Now, there are various things that actually make you sleepy. For instance, something that we find in turkey, and also we can take it as a supplement, which is called tryptophan. Tryptophan is an amino acid that actually helps the brain get into a relaxed state. And I prefer, when my clients are having sleep issues and they come and have a session about what might they use to be more relaxed and help them sleep, well, I would recommend tryptophan, either eating foods that have it, such as turkey. Also, there are things like serotonin and melatonin. Melatonin is widely sold in health food stores and online. I don't suggest that you go to take melatonin right away, because some people get various kinds of effects that they don't want from melatonin, such as still being groggy the next day. Some people claim they get bad dreams when they've taken melatonin. So it depends. Some people do well with it, but I would certainly say tryptophan would be a first choice beforehand. Either increase the foods that contain it, and some other things would be brown rice, quinoa, and whole grain oats. These are all good things to have as a snack in the evening. Like an excellent thing to have as a snack after you have your heavier meal midday. So if you wanted something towards the end of the day, a really great meal would be to have oatmeal and a banana, then That's not the best breakfast because both oatmeal and bananas have specific naturally occurring constituents that make you sleepy, which is why so many people who do have that kind of breakfast about an hour later while they're on their way to work or on the way to starting their day start to get this little hazy sleepy feeling. So truthfully, moving the consumption of bananas and oatmeal as an end-of-day snack, even adding in cinnamon, which is something else that supports rest, would be absolutely the best way to go. You would feel a difference right away by not having that heavy meal towards the end of the day and by ingesting substances that have natural tryptophan and, in fact, natural serotonin from carbohydrates like whole grain oats, brown rice, quinoa, and bananas. Wonderful way to go. Non-drug, no adverse effects. You know, I am really committed at this time in life. Some of you have been listening to our shows here on Herbally Yours, where you're listening right now, on the voice of Nassau Community College 90.3 WHPC, and I'm Ellen Kamhi, the natural nurse, and we're discussing sleep help today. Some of you have been listening to our show here since 1990. It's not the oldest radio show that I have on, but it's certainly a long-running one that's getting to be lots of years. So you've heard some of these things many times that I spoke about then. The difference is now there is actually scientific evidence to support everything we have discussed on Herbally Yours in these many, many decades. And because natural remedies are evidence-based, they have the longest level of what we will say traditional use, since they have thousands and thousands of years of traditional safe use. But now, because of all the scientific studies, which you can check out for yourself on PubMed. Just go to PubMed, P-U-B like public, M-E-D like medicine, PubMed, completely free. You can get there by Googling PubMed. Put in any question you have and scientific studies will pop up. Therefore, everything we're talking about is evidence-based. So, I absolutely think that you should look into it, but also I am working really hard to make science-based, evidence-based medicine, which is the best medicine, which is natural medicine, to be what we call standard of practice. Standard of practice means it's the first thing that's used by every healthcare provider when someone comes in for a particular health issue. So you would get a sheet if you came in with sleep issues with these exact changes I'm sharing with you now during our show today here on Herbally Yours. That would be the first thing you try. So every doctor would be telling you do this first and wait to do the prescription drugs such as Ambien and many of the other prescription sleep medicines. We still have those available. We don't want to throw them out. They should just be the last things that are used, not the first things that are used. Because these first little changes we're talking about in terms of diet and in terms of essential oils and in terms of herbs, which we'll be talking about, are more effective in many cases, and that has been proven in scientific published studies. Also, much more cost effective, which is important as well in terms of the entire healthcare system. Of course, the pharmaceutical companies might lose out big time, but also, and most important, have a much, much better adverse effect profile, which means not that you 100% would never get a bad reaction. Anyone can be allergic to anything like peanut butter, but it means you are much less likely to have a severe adverse effect. So the fact that natural remedies are traditionally used for thousands of years, evidence-based, we find all kinds of studies in the mainstream medical literature, much more cost-effective, and much, much safer, because they have a much lower incidence of severe adverse effects across the board. That is what should be used as first-line standard of practice. It should not be called alternative medicine or anything like that. It should be called good medicine. It is what we do first. Every single physician will use this first. And then, of course, if it doesn't work, or if you're someone who goes, no, I don't want to try any herbs, I don't want to go eating different foods, I don't want to use much safer and effective aromatherapy oils or much safer and more effective herbs, I rather go right for the pharmaceutical. Well, that's a choice, but at least the physicians have knowledge about the much safer, more effective, and more cost-effective and evidence-based and proven natural remedies. And that's where I'm going as the natural nurse. So a study published in Sports Medicine went to see how we can improve sleep of athletes because, of course, they have chaotic schedules and late night games, and they really need a good night's sleep. So they found by consuming these kinds of foods that we just discussed, which have tryptophan like turkey, nuts, and seeds, that it promotes restorative sleep. So all of this is really proven. Another wonderful thing to use towards the evening is tart cherry juice. And I personally love tart cherry juice. It's got a little tang to it. It's still sweet, actually. What I've been doing in the warmer weather is actually mixing tart cherry juice with a little bit of natural bubbly water. I happen to like Saratoga, but there's all kinds of, Perrier or just plain seltzer, any kind of bubbly water. And that is a delicious late night refresher, which also improves tryptophan. So how great is that? And a wonderful supplement to take at night is magnesium. Magnesium is really, really important. Unfortunately, almost everyone needs it as a supplement. I test all my clients. I have them request a test through their doctor to see what their magnesium level is, because many people have low magnesium levels. And we have shown that higher magnesium levels definitely helps with deeper, more relaxed sleep. Research from the Biochemistry and Neurophysiology Unit at the University of Geneva's Department of Psychiatry indicate that higher levels of magnesium help provide better, more consistent sleep, since magnesium itself is a Karman nutrient. And you can find magnesium in foods like spinach and pumpkin seeds and other things. However, magnesium has been so depleted in our soil because of factory farming that most people, even if they're eating healthier foods, are deficient in magnesium. So that's where I really feel that magnesium is something that most people should supplement. And if you did go to purchase a magnesium supplement, there are various kinds. I'm not talking about brands, because we never discuss brands here on Herbally Yours. But if you did want a specific suggestion, you could contact me and I would recommend specific brands that are higher quality and are made in GMP factories, all that kind of stuff. What I'm talking about here is type of magnesium, because there is something called magnesium citrate. That's not a really great form. There's something called magnesium oxide. That's definitely not a particularly good form. Those are not the forms we would recommend because they have poor absorption rates. But the best form of magnesium is called magnesium glycinate, Glycine. Magnesium glycinate. It's available in many brands, but I'm talking about the form. Magnesium glycinate, about 400 milligrams a day, absolutely can be of a great assistance in getting both a good night's sleep and for dealing with things like restless leg syndrome. Magnesium has been studied specifically for that, where you feel your leg moving at night. Many people experience that. Other kinds of cramps, muscle cramps that people get while they're sleeping at night. Magnesium glycinate can turn that around pretty quickly, I would say within a month of using it. Really excellent. And then, of course, the the side effect, let's say, of natural remedies is that not only will it help what you initially use it for, let's say if you decide to use magnesium glycinate to enhance your sleep, but then it will help many other things in your body as well. Exactly opposite from a pharmaceutical, which may well help the one action you're using it for, but has this long list of adverse effects, some of which can be things like destroying your liver and kidney, dying. These are the side effects of a lot of pharmaceutical medications. And all you have to do is watch the commercials on TV because they always go through them. So I'd like to remind you that you're listening to Herbally Yours on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Ellen Kamhi, the natural nurse. You could find me at naturalnurse.com. And my guest today is myself, Ellen Kamhi, the natural nurse. We often have guests on our show here on Herbally Yours. But today I'm sharing with you the importance of sleep and all the natural remedies that you can use. We talked about some really simple things like eating turkey, towards the end of the day, and even cranberries are helpful. And also looking for something like switching the timing of a simple snack like oatmeal and bananas towards your evening small meal after you eat your large meal earlier in the day. These are such natural things that help your sleep and also help your body. So let's talk about some really great herbs that have been scientifically proven to help sleep. And I'll tell you all three of them right up front, and then we'll go into each of them a little bit more deeply. One is passion flower. What a great name, passion flower. It's not about passion, and it's not about love. It's about the Jesuit priests named passion flower because they felt it was a message from Christ, because the flower looks like a crown of thorns, and the stamens, which are the parts of the flowers in the middle of the passion flower, reminded the Jesuit priests of the nails that they used to hammer Christ to the cross. So it has nothing to do with, passion like we might think of on another level. Nonetheless, the herb is called passion flower. Excellent, excellent herb for sleep. The other two are valerian and chamomile. So passion flower, valerian, chamomile. Another wonderful one is hops. If you go and look at sleep combinations commercially sold online and in health food stores, or as teas that you can drink before bed, they will often have those three in them. They'll have passion flower, hops, valerian, and something like chamomile. These are all what's called gentle relaxation herbs. Also, don't forget that small glass of tart cherry juice. And passion flower has so many benefits, including calming and anti-anxiety. One good thing about passion flower is it brings down anxiety, it brings down worry, it brings down that racy mind, but it's not really sedative where it puts you to sleep. So while it is calming and has anti-anxiety effects, you can also use it during the day if you're someone who suffers from anxiety during the day. It's especially wonderful when you're trying to rest. And passion flower has calming effects that are needed to stop that vicious monkey mind, which sort of when you try to sleep, that's when you're worrying about all the things that you're worrying about in life. Of course, we have lots of clinical studies that have shown passion flower reduces anxiety as effectively as the prescribed drug, which is benzodiazepine, as effectively. In one 4-week double-blind study of patients with generalized anxiety disorder compared passion flower to that drug, they both actually had the same effect, but passion flower did not cause any interference with job and did not have the very negative side effects linked to the drug. And that's what we find most of the time, which is why the doctors should be prescribing the herbals first. They have the studies. They are less expensive. They have a better outcome, and they have lower side effects. Exactly what I was saying. Passion flower is one of the most powerful anti-anxiety natural sleep aids that don't cause lingering tiredness the next day. And you can safely combine it with chamomile. Now, when you need something a little more powerful, you would think about valerian, because valerian, by the way, we just gave a actual walk outside with real people, imagine that, and that was at Restoration Farm in Bethpage. For those of you who are local listeners to Herbally Yours, produced in the studios of WHPC right here at Nassau Community College or nearby. Well, we went out and looked at valerian. It's a big, giant, tall plant. We dug up the roots and we made it into a tea that people could take home and use at night, because the root contains many healing properties for relaxation and is a strong sedative. So you only want to use valerian not when you're driving, not when you're going out, not when you're going to work, even if you're going to work at home. Not the time to use valerian. This is only a nighttime drug. In fact, it should have a warning label on it saying do not use when driving or operating machinery or doing anything that you have to be awake, because this stuff knocks you out very powerfully, but still with a much lower rate of adverse effects than similar drugs. I will tell you in advance, if you go purchase valerian, because you heard it today right here on Herbally Yours, the stuff smells terrible. It truly smells terrible. It smells like a locker room full of dirty socks. And why I'm telling you that is so many people who aren't savvy about herbs hear something like today's show and they say, I need help sleeping. I'm going to try this valerian root. They get a bottle of either a liquid or a capsule. They open it and they go, oh my God, this stuff stinks. I'm taking it back. It must have gone bad. It smells like sour milk or something. Well, guess what? That's exactly how it is supposed to smell if it is a true, powerful valerian root. Just as a warning, you go, ugh, but it doesn't taste bad. That's funny. It doesn't taste bad at all, but it definitely smells awful. So you can get something that combines some of the herbs we talked about, valerian root and passion flower. You may want to know, though, if you use too much valerian root, it can make you kind of sleepy the next day. So you want to take it earlier in the night, not 2 in the morning, because then you might wake up at 7 in the morning and feel a little bit of a hangover. Not like you do with the sleep meds, by the way, not at all. And there are many other things you can use, like, for instance, essential oils. Sprinkle them on your pillow. Very, very safe and effective. And there are some wonderful essential oils that have had a lot of science supporting their use for sleep, including bergamot oil and lavender oil. So there you go. A wonderful compendium of natural interventions that you can use immediately to help support sleep. And hopefully, you are helping yourself to sleep well during any time, like perhaps now that is stressful or some other times in your life that are stressful. So I want to thank you so much for joining us today on Herbally Yours, produced in the studios of 90.3 WHPC, Nassau Community College, Garden City, New York. For more information, please email us at whpc@ncc.edu. This is your host, Ellen Kamhi, the Natural Nurse at naturalnurse.com, inviting you to join us next week for another edition of Herbally Yours. Until then, hope that you stay healthy.